You can search metamorphosisconnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on metamorphosisconnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting metamorphosisconnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's metamorphosisconnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, rain and snow with a low around freezing. Then Wednesday, showers and thunderstorms with a high around 49. The music is still the hottest at Crooner's Supper Club in Fridley. Crooner's is located just north of I-694 off Highway 65 and Moore Lake Drive. View their upcoming music schedules and food menus at croonersloungemn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us, share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening. And, you know, we heard Patrick right before the show started, and he just needs to be quiet over there about that ice and snow stuff. I'm over that. I had enough of that. And I know we haven't had a lot of it this year, to be honest, but really any of it is more than enough for me. And I just I'm ready for spring. And especially enough of this. One day is 80 degrees and the next day is a blizzard. Can we get away from that for a little bit? I'd appreciate that very much. But here we are. It was the end of March yesterday. Now we're in April. Of course, this is the time of year for those kind of those really heavy snow and stuff. But I don't think we're going to get a whole lot tonight. I mean, I looked outside, and I'm out in St. Michael, and I looked outside, and it's kind of a dusting. Maybe we'll get more overnight, but I'm not too terribly worried about that, which is saying something because I'm a big baby in this stuff. So definitely going to be interesting. Now, speaking of snow, it reminds me of a time that some good friends and I went over to the Calumet for our birthdays. Calumet Inn is located in Pipestone, Minnesota, and it was in January. That's where our birthdays are, and my friend John was driving us, and we knew that there was a blizzard, a big winter storm warning, and we thought that that's okay, and we drove, and it truly turned into perhaps one of the most horrific driving experiences of our lives. And I'm not even saying me alone. There's those 2-lane highways going out, depending on how you go out to Pipestone, and it seemed like every semi in the world was passing us, going the opposite direction. Could barely see. John was amazing driving. His wife Chris was amazing at hiding her face from looking out. I was amazing at praying And what was really kind of frightening is when stuff started to clear up, we didn't realize how close we were to the car in front of us. It's one of those things that was really pretty incredible. But nevertheless, what we ended up doing was we were doing a weekend at the Calumet Inn in Pipestone, Minnesota, one of the greatest hotels in Minnesota, very haunted. It was the first experience I ever had at crossing over anybody. And why I bring this up is very simple. Tonight, my special guest is author Julie Meadows. And Julie has written this amazing book that is out now all about the Calumet Inn, called Calumet Inn-The Jewel of the Prairie, available on Amazon. You want to get it. And Julie herself, she lives in Minnesota with her daughter and 2 pets. She is a mother of 2 and has 2 grandchildren. Julie has a lifelong fascination with the paranormal and loves historical buildings. She discovered her passion for research while earning her bachelor's degree in paralegal studies. She also is a psychic medium and can be found on Facebook under Journey with Spirit. I highly recommend you go over there and like the page and keep track of everything she's doing. And you can follow her there for updates on future novels and historical paranormal buildings, such as the Calumet Inn. So very exciting. Julie, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, my pleasure. And I wanted to share that story about the Calumet because very simply, it was frightening. But also it was one of those things that once we got to the Calumet, it is truly, I don't think it's hyperbole when you say it's the jewel of the prairie. There is something truly amazing about that location. Julie, why don't we start off with you telling us about the book in general? What would someone get when they get this book?
Well, it's kind of like a little coffee table book, but really it's just a brief synopsis of the history of the Calumet. I mean, it probably could have been thicker because it has changed hands so many times over the years. It's like a hot potato, basically. But I had so much fun writing it because I went into it from a paranormal angle and, it's a haunted hotel and it's beautiful and it's historical. But then as I started to write it, I fell in love with the history so much. It's fascinating. So, and I mean, the Calumet's kind of moved around the town a little bit too and keeps rising from the ashes. So it's kind of amazing that she just keeps fighting to live.
It's amazing that it gets kicked around at all, to be perfectly honest, but that's a whole other show. I don't feel like we want to get into all that, right? We want to more just enjoy the positivities of what the Calumet is. And, my only time of actually being on television doing paranormal, and I was really close at one time to getting a show on travel, but ended up being on one of those like Care 11, I forget the name of the show, that is about outdoor stuff, and they came out to the Calumet, and Tammy invited a few of us out there to be on camera to do an investigation and stuff. And of course, none of them were really caring about, they didn't believe, right? And then stuff started to happen, and then they started to believe. Let's just put it that way. There is a lot of character, isn't there, to the Calumet? I mean, so much so.
Yeah. She has her own personality. Like, she to me carries the town. Like she birthed the town, and she still carries it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it in the just on Main Street. There's a couple places that really stick out to me in Pipestone, Minnesota. That'd be the Water Tower and the Calumet on street there. That it kind of commands respect. And for you, did you get, when you went there the first time, I'm presuming you went doing paranormal stuff, right?
I didn't. I actually worked for the Tractor Pulling Association in Minnesota, and I've worked with them since 2017, and I needed a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Pipestone had a special place in my heart when I was growing up because I grew up on a farm in Welch, and my dad and mom would put me on the Greyhound bus, and I would ride all the way into Pipestone because my grandparents lived in Flandreau, hop, skip, and a jump away, and they would pick me up. And I was like, oh, I want to go work this county fair in Pipestone because it has memories for me. Well, I love haunted buildings and history, and that was the hotel to stay at pretty much. So I went to stay there and just fell in love with it right away.
You mentioned that there is a lot of history to it, and I'm trying to approach all this as if I don't know, because it's like I've certainly, but I mean it kind of takes away from the thrill of an interview if I'm just like trying to beat you to the punch of some of the stuff going on there. So what is it? What are some of the things that really kind of took you by surprise about learning, especially after knowing about the Calumet for so long? What was some of the learnings that you picked up that just kind of made you just be like, well, I didn't know this, or this is very interesting?
Just the way that she keeps rising up from the ashes, like, she's because literally fire, a couple of big fires, and then she always keeps coming up like a phoenix and getting rebuilt, and that somebody always falls in love with her to want to restore her, and she's been referred to in many newspaper articles when I was doing my research as the Jewel of the Prairie, which is where I came up with the title, because people refer to her as that they would come from far and wide to come and stay there. And I mean, I even had a moment when I was writing the book, just the history of the town, how the town was built up, how the hotel was built up. But I had a moment for like maybe a few minutes where all of a sudden did you ever watch the show That's So Raven?
I missed that, Julie.
She would have these moments where she would just kind of go and get pulled into another reality. Sure. And I was literally pulled into another reality. I was back on that main street. I was dressed in old clothes. I could see and smell the dirt and the horses and hear the carriages. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. That's cool. And then, I was like pulled back again. It was while I was actively doing research. And it's just, hearing about the lives of people, I did find it kind of funny and fascinating how newspapers were written back then, how graphic they were about what happened to somebody, the shock and awe to get papers, and then how differently we write now. So I found myself kind of falling into the writing style of back then, and I thought that was pretty cool too.
There is a lot of history to the Calumet. Calumet has had many lives, hasn't it?
Yes.
And there is, in fact, it's been totally rebuilt very early on, wasn't it?
Yep. 3 years after it was built, it burned to the ground. A total loss. I think it was a loss of about $425,000 back then. So it burned down in 1886, and it was only built in 1883.
Wow.
And then it got moved. So it was where it is now. It was 2 blocks north on the corner, and that's the one that burnt down. And then when they rebuilt it with the bank and everything in it is where they have it where it is now.
I forgot about the bank in there. And one of the things I find very interesting about all of that is down in the basement there, because first of all, on the main level in where the bar is now, you had what was the vault, right? In there, which it's kind of still a vault because that's where all the booze was located. But then downstairs, I always remember Tammy talking about, I'm going to talk about Tammy, I think, in the next segment here a little bit, because she's just so wonderful on so many levels. That she always thought, and I'd love your thoughts on this, that wall in the pub before it gets to the doorway, that then on the other side of the doorway is the pub bar, that she believes that there is a restroom in there.
Oh,
And,
I don't remember hearing that part.
And so, of course, my first reaction is let's get a sledgehammer and tear this place down to see what we could find. But she didn't really want to do that for some reason. And but she believes that, and she's found, and Tam, if I'm totally misquoting you on this, just please let me know. But I think she's found, stuff that kind of leads her to believe that that's the case, because in the pub downstairs, when you go down the stairs or that ramp and there's the elevators and you go into the pub area, the bathrooms you go in, it's to the right. But she thought that when you go to the left and there's that wall that kind of heads up to the doorway there, that's there's actually hidden restrooms in their bathrooms.
Oh, well, when people would come off the bus lines, Greyhound and the Jackrabbit lines,
Mm-hmm.
the men and women had to split up and use bathrooms different places.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely. That's incredible, isn't it? I mean, and that's just it. And that's the thing about it. I mean, we don't know that for certain if they're there, but that's the great thing about a place like the Calumet. It never stops surprising and amazing us, doesn't it?
That downstairs hallway is creepy.
Yeah, you're talking about the ramp that goes down out the back door.
Yeah. Because I used to, when I'd stay there, I'd park in the back parking lot and have to come up through that hallway, and I'd be like, oh.
Yeah. And the funny thing about that, it's pretty well lit too. It's just there's just that energy there that is just kind of something else. And one of the things I always play in classes, because we do this paranormal classes, and I'm sure you've seen this, the video that Tammy got on surveillance of upstairs, the hallway that has the railing, that there is a shadow that runs past, and then she runs past because she's chasing it, because she could see that something's going on. She sees it, she runs after it. All this is on camera. It's incredible. If you haven't, Julie, if you haven't seen it, I'll send it your way.
I haven't. Is it on the floor with Charlie's room, or is it on the floor below?
It's on the floor with the main, what we would call the main level that has the bar on it, the entryway. So
yeah, I haven't seen that.
Okay, I'll send it your way. There's it just, and that's the thing. It's just such a amazing place. And Tammy is a force to be reckoned with, because Tammy is, she doesn't get frightened by any of this stuff at all.
Right. Yep.
And so she, and they respect her. The spirits do, at least. So yeah, there's a lot there. Let's talk about her in a second here. Julie, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation here with Julie Meadows, author. The book is called Calumet Inn-The Jewel of the Prairie, available on Amazon. We have a lot more to get to. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Did you know that spiritual awakening is not all love and light? Surprise! Inner demons, ego deaths, and tower moments are on the horizon. But while life might hand you some harsh lessons, we've got the antidote to soothe your weary soul. Why not try a dragon's blood bath? Or schedule a Reiki aura repair? With books, herbs, talismans, candles, and more, we put the Shazam in shadow work. Visit Magus Books at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis or magusbooks.com.
The Tilted Tiki, located in downtown Stillwater, helps you get your tropical tiki vibe on with a large selection of fantastic tasting tiki cocktails served in unique and fun glasses, a menu of delicious food ranging from small bites, craft tacos, sandwiches, and more. Plus, don't forget they have live music Wednesday through Saturday nights. Located in downtown Stillwater, the Tilted Tiki is your tropical relaxation restaurant in Minnesota. Visit thetiltedtiki.com. And if you haven't done so yet and you are looking to go to a paranormal convention, maybe you haven't been to one before, maybe you have always wanted to know what it's like, there's one in Eau Claire coming up on April 11th, 12th, 13th, and that is over at Eau Claire Midwest Metaparacon. That is happening. We're going to have folks like Jason Haas over there from Ghost Hunters, a lot of great speakers, a lot of great people talking about paranormal. I'm going to be out there as the official podcast for the convention. Really looking forward to it. If you want to go to metaparapro.com. There you're going to see Midwest Metaparacon. Go there, sign up, put in the code GhostBox, and you're going to get 10% off of the entrance fee. We're hoping to see a lot of people there, hoping to see you there. If you do go, stop on by, say hi. I would love to hear from you. We have with us tonight author Julie Meadows, and we're talking about her book, The Calumet Inn, The Jewel of the Prairie. And Julie, talk to me a little bit about Tammy Grubbs and how did you meet her?
I'm trying to remember. I met her, I believe, when I was out for a tractor pull in August of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been out there a couple years prior with a different owner. And then a friend of mine had done a blog on the Calumet for me. So when I stayed there again in 2019, I met her and I said, hey, did you know that I had someone that wrote an article about your hotel? And she's like, no. And then we just got to talking, and she is so nice.
Yes,
but she had mentioned to me that she had been kind of thinking or toying with the idea of having a book done about the hotel. And so I was like, oh, well, I can ask my friend, she's written a book before. And then my friend's like, I'm too busy. Why don't you do this? It's like, okay. So that's how it started. And then, I was going there and staying there and doing research and stuff. And that all started right before COVID. So it got a little harder for me to go personally down there and do stuff because of the world being shut down. But she was wonderful to work with. She is so sweet and so caring and extremely smart.
And really artistic, right? I mean, just very creative.
Yes.
And
beautiful artwork.
So talk to us a little bit about if you were staying at the Calumet, what would you find in the rooms? What would you find on the doors?
So she has named each room and it's a theme. And what I love, because she told me about this a little more, because I had gone back in, it was February. And then I went back in September too. And she kind of went through the building again with me. And she goes into each room and it's how she feels when she goes into the room and the energy she picks up on, which is actually very accurate energy, because, when you go in the rooms, you can pick up the spirits that are there and that are around. And then she paints these gorgeous murals on the wall and then decorates things based off of what she can feel. And one of the rooms, like it's about, I think it's the, Oh, I don't know. I'm going to get this wrong. It's either the mayor's wife of Pipestone at one time, the green room. You remember that one with the
Oh, yeah.
plants and everything?
Mhm.
And then like the doctor's room. That one was a really good one. And there's one that has like roses everywhere in it. And that room has a picture hanging up that reminds me of Valerie, who people have seen.
Mhm.
And tends to show up a lot. And then her murals, like in the dining area. So I love that because I love Native American stuff. And, she has ties to that too. And there's just a really nice, calming energy around her stuff, her artwork.
She's very calming, isn't she? I mean, she just is a very calming human being.
Yeah, she was telling me a story once how I think someone came in and their intent was to rob the place, and she's just like so chill about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen her revved up, which is not revved up. It's just kind of it's just, and it's like, oh bless you, because I'm a hothead. I go from 0 to 90 in a second, and she's just like, yeah, it wasn't great, but we just made it work. It's just amazing. It's fantastic, and I adore that. And she is one of the stories that I'm gonna, as someone I've been doing paranormal work for 17 years, something like that. And she had talked about when there was a point when the hotel was closed down and no one was allowed in, and she was the only one allowed in, and she had to make sure that like the furnace was restarted every hour or something like that. And without anyone in there, the spirits got very not maybe aggressive, but very boisterous about wanting to be, they wanted attention.
Yep.
Where she was in there by herself, I think it was like roughly like 30 days or something, her in there by herself with these spirits relentlessly having, knocking on her door, knocking around, and the thing is that the Calumet is big. Okay, folks, it's big. It's not a little boutique, hotel. It's a very nice big hotel for people who are coming into Minnesota, traveling train, whatever, and they're going to stay there. It truly is a jewel. And just kind of the way she talked about it and where she needed to go to restart the furnace and how that whole process was. Julie, I don't think I could do it.
Couldn't have done it. If it was down in that hallway, no way.
Right? I mean, where it is, and she had to, and even just like, and maybe the part I didn't include is that there's no electricity in the place.
Right.
At that point, there was, it was all, and we don't need to get into the whys or anything. It just, it is what it was. And, it's worth talking about, you had mentioned it, that people end up with the hotel because they love it and care for it. And Tammy, this is her place. This is her. This is her, her sister,
Yep. She's part of it. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. And like you said, the spirits, they accept her. They know her. They, they all work together. And I feel like they know what they can and can't do with her and around her.
I think that's a good point. I think that's a very good point. And they, they have to look at her in a sense as almost like a mother figure. If something's, not right there, they're going to be looking to her like, what's happening to us? What's going on here? I mean, and she needs them. They need her.
I agree. Yep.
It's incredible. And it's, just that journey. And I think you and I started kind of being a part of the Calumet probably roughly around the same time. You probably a little bit before myself. I think 2018 or so for me, where it just like, kind of just end up seeing kind of Tammy's evolution with the with the hotel. And it's not an uncommon thing, I will say, people who own, locations like this, but she has such a strong vision for that place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful, actually.
It pulls you in when she
Yeah.
would describe what she wanted to do. And she's an artist and very creative, so she's able to express that very easily, and you're able to picture it and see it through her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
she's so involved in her community. She loves her community. She loves that hotel. She's very caring.
She is, absolutely. And it's such a great journey. And one thing too is that Tammy had always been really very cognizant of the town. Like, she wanted to make sure that people were able to come to the Calumet as a focal point of the town for meetings, for get-togethers, for brunches, being open after church, on Sundays for breakfast and stuff like that. That she saw very well the place that the Calumet held in Pipestone. It's its status.
Yeah.
They
had great food too.
They did have. They really,
oh my goodness, it was so good.
Yeah, it's really something. And as Doug says in the comments, he says, the way you described the Calumet and her, I think he's saying it's kind of like the Anderson House and Becky. Mm-hmm. And it's what it really comes down to is people who care. And you get people in these positions who understand the need for also looking after the spirit side of the locations. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah.
That they have to look and make sure that part is taken care of, and that that includes like changes that might be made, that there's nothing that's too terribly too much that makes spirits like unhappy or uncertain, stuff like that. There's a role to it, isn't there?
Well, the history still lives there,
Mm-hmm.
The Calumet is still alive, if you will. Absolutely.
Yeah. I wish that I wish I could see what the Calumet was like before the renovations. And I mean, not renovations of like, not too long ago. I mean, long time ago, when rooms are a lot smaller, and just how it really it was when before it became in its kind of its current iteration, I suppose. It's just
so before the Hasera brothers came in 79. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I would like to. I mean, I was looking at some of the like lakesandwoods.com. They have a lot of really good postcards and stuff about Pipestone, and I was looking at some of the earlier stuff today, and I was trying to blow it up really big in Word and look at it, and that first building is really interesting. And have you noticed, like, each version of it has the corner with the slope stairs and the door, but nobody ever uses it. So like the big door, even in old pictures, it said hotel entrance, which is the one next to the Pizza Ranch. But why make a building with a corner door that nobody goes into? But they kept doing it.
That's true. Wasn't there a piano there now or something? Yeah. No, that's a good point, actually. That's funny.
What are you doing that for?
So the other one had that too?
Yeah, the first one had it, and then the second one had it, and then the second one, I think, just wound up eventually putting a railing in the middle so you could go on either side to the door that you don't go in. And then you have the other door on the side, the other side, closer to the parking lot.
I think that's great. Well, also they have that, like you said, that entrance next to the Pizza Ranch, and yes, people use it, but I always think of the main entrance actually to the side, because that's where currently the lobby desk is.
Yeah.
Which is really funny. Also, we don't even talk about the fact that part of the Calumet goes, is protruding into the Calumet from Pizza Ranch itself. That is not really part of the Calumet anymore. It's part of Pizza Ranch, but that used to be a brothel, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, there was, because so where that entrance is to the restaurant above the where the murals are, that
Yeah.
Tammy,
Yep.
that, even though that part is in the Calumet, that's actually basically part of Pizza Ranch, but it used to be part of the Calumet.
Oh.
And it used to be, I wanted to say that I believe that it was, everything back in the day was apparently brothel. So maybe I have that, but I know that, like, Tammy has said to me, she's like, if you want to go check it out, go to what's his face over at Pizza Ranch, let him know that you're with me and that you want to see the rooms. And I'm a coward because I've never done it.
Ooh, that would be fun.
It would be fun. I just hate interrupting people when they're trying to do the work. But yeah,
no, I would totally interrupt them to go check that out. And
you're all much more
speaking
ruder than I am, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Okay. So speaking of spirits liking her, so
Yes.
the last time, so when I visited her in September, her daughter had decorated the hotel with Halloween stuff.
Yes.
Because they were going to have like a little Halloween thing, right?
Mhm,
So they had one of those obnoxious motion sensor things, but it was an old telephone.
mhm,
So
mhm.
whenever you walked past it, it would ring. Every time she walked past it, it was quiet. Every time I walked past it, it would ring. But we didn't figure this out until it had happened a few times. And then she finally looked back at me and said, wait a minute. When I go past it, nothing happens. And so then she tried it. And then and sure enough, it would ring when I would go past and not her. And I'm like, that's so rude.
That's funny. That is really, I think we were out there around the same time that you were, because I remember Halloween stuff out as well.
I think that came out the weekend before you guys, because she mentioned there was some paranormal thing going on,
Sure.
and I came out that weekend before.
Some lame paranormal people coming out there, and as it was said, as Doug had said earlier, talking about the Anderson House, that's where you and I met, being at the Para Fair in January, and you had mentioned that you wrote this book, and that's where, and that hopefully you're going to have some sort of collaboration in the future with Anderson House.
Yes, I am currently starting stuff, writing, but I've done some research, and I'm going actually there this weekend to spend a couple of nights and like really dive in. But I didn't want to get the two places, the history kind of jumbled in my head before I talk to you, because they're so different.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I mean, the Calumet's had so many different owners, and the Anderson House has had like way less. So it's going to be a whole different project. But yeah, I'm very excited. Becky does seem a lot like Tammy, and as much as I know of her right now, I just love her. So
yeah, I've known Becky, not that I'm trying to outdo anyone here. I've known Becky for a very long time. Her and Pays are fantastic. So I will say, it's funny that you talked to me about not getting things confused, because when I promoted you Friday and Casual Friday, and by Friday I'm pretty much kind of a husk of a human being at that point. I promoted you as that you had written a book about Wabasha. And that's how really with it I was. And then when I was putting stuff together on Sunday, I thought, my God, I got that so wrong. And I had to make sure, like yesterday, I'm like, she wrote a book about the Calumet in Pipestone, just like, because I got it horribly, horribly wrong.
Well, in about another year, you can say that.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it'll take me about a year like the last one. So.
Well, Doug says he's an employee of the Anderson House, so he's probably going to see you there. So say hi to Doug there.
Yes, I'm coming up Thursday night, kind of late, but I'll be there all day Friday night, and most of Saturday. So
that sounds great. Nancy says, is the Anderson House in Calumet? No, the Anderson House is in Wabasha, and the Calumet Inn is in Pipestone, Minnesota. So We're talking, they're similar and very different at the same time. And I don't mean Wabasha and Pipestone. I mean the hotels. It's such an interesting thing. And Nancy also says, I love Wabasha. Who doesn't? Julie, let's go ahead and let's take another break here. Come back. Let's talk a little bit about psychic abilities, some of the other stuff you do. There's a lot to get to. If anyone has any questions, go ahead, put them in the comments. Stick around. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Now, tomorrow is the first Wednesday of the month, and that means that Ghost Stories and Beyond returns to Billy's Bar and Grill in Anoka. Starts at 6:30 tomorrow evening. It's half-price burgers. Our special guest is going to be author Renee Valois. Her book, Collecting Spirits, Life with Ghosts, Guardians, and Guides. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. She's going to be live over at Billy's. She's going to be with us for a couple hours. Let's talk about her book. Let's talk about what she collects ghost stories, so let's talk to her about all that. It's going to be a lot of fun. $10 to get in, but it's a great experience. Renee is fantastic. She was on the program back in February, so you definitely want to check that out. And then when you're done with that, you got to listen to GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun tomorrow as we do one-question readings with psychic medium Refined Divine. As always, I love just our chemistry when we all are together. Adam, her, Dave, myself, and we just have a good time. And she helps people. It's fantastic. So if you have a question about money, jobs, your future, you want to channel a loved one, you want to ask about a pet that passed, you definitely don't want to miss that. That's tomorrow. And then, of course, Thursday is going to be a replay with Rob Guttrow and Monique Toussoon talking about their book, and then of course Casual Friday. So a whole lot of GhostBox Radio to get to, but tonight we are having I'm enjoying this conversation quite a bit. We have Julie Meadows. She authored the book Calumet Inn-The Jewel of the Prairie, and it's just also fun just to talk about some really cool memories about the Calumet, and that we've all had our own experiences. What is there a paranormal experience at the Calumet that really sort of stands out for you?
I haven't really experienced it myself. Like my daughter's had a couple. I remember the second time I stayed there, we were in room 307. And I have kind of experienced it. There were 2 banker spirits that were in our room. So the whole time we were there, they were kind of like getting ready to go to work across the street at the bank.
Sure. Yeah.
It was kind of cool. Like it was stuck in a loop. And then the ladies there were like 3 ladies staying in Charlie's room, and it was really loud one night and I couldn't sleep very well. And then Tammy was saying how they left early because, their wine glasses were being tipped over and other stuff. But I remember the most, like we came up, my daughter and I, from having, I think we might have been talking to Tammy in the dining area. And we went to go at the top of the stairs and there was like a weird energy in the air. And my daughter's like, there's this guy that's just running back and forth in front of, it was room 311, just running back and forth. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to get to our room? Like,
Right.
like I'm supposed to like cross in front of this thing that's going to run me over. And I was, I don't know what to do with this information. So, and then, and it was sad kind of because he was like, I'd say early 20s, but he was a little bit mentally disabled, so he didn't really understand what was going on with him. And we did actually wind up crossing him over because the poor kid, like his family and stuff, was waiting, and we had to convince him to go. But once he crossed over, completely different feeling in the hallway. Because like before that, I was like, I feel like I'm playing Frogger or something. Like I feel like
a lot of frenetic energy, like
oh
frantic.
my God, yes. And then he would go part of the way and then almost all the way down to the other end. And you know how long that hallway goes down. It's like, how am I supposed to time this?
No.
And then I was there a couple years later when I first met Tammy, and I had gone to work a tractor pull, and a guy I was dating at the time stayed behind. And I get back and and he goes, I took a shower and I came out of the shower and the mirror was all fogged up, and it said, and someone had written in the mirror and it said Valerie in the room. Like, what?
Yeah. I've had that.
What's going on there?
Yeah.
And then he said all night long he was hearing like knocking and banging on the walls. I mean, I actually, to be honest, I put cotton balls in my ears because he was a snorer. So I was gone. So I didn't hear anything. But yeah, those were the weirdest ones for sure.
I've had it where that there was writing on the mirror, not a full name, but it was like J-O. I took a picture of it, and my friend John and Ryan, John's wife, and Ryan they were staying in a room, and they were getting something written on their mirror as well, if I'm not mistaken. My very first night at the Calumet, in the room I was in, I had nothing on in the room, nothing, like no lights or anything. I was trying to sleep. Suddenly, everything in the room turns on, and then just shuts off. And I'm just like hello, I'm just like, but one that stands out to me, and this isn't even me. This is somebody who other people who was at an event that I put on. They were there, and in the bar at one point, there's a ping pong ball that we're using to see. People do this thing where they like try to get the ball off my hand, which I think is so flawed anyway. But they have the ping pong ball on the bar, and it just takes off. And we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, a bunch of them get into the elevator afterwards, and I'm not part of this, but these are people I trust implicitly. They get in the elevator, and the door starts to shut, then it stops, and it opens back up, and the elevator goes down a little bit, like somebody gets on the elevator, and all of a sudden somebody says in like a disembodied voice says in a deep male voice, "Good evening." And then they were all just like. And I see John is in the comments, and John, I think you were in the elevator, if I'm not mistaken. It was like you and Nicole and other folks. I mean, this place is, folks, this place is legit. This is a really cool place. So got that out of my system. First of all, get the book, right? I mean, there's a lot of history. John said, yeah, he was in there. Absolutely. Get the book, because we're talking about stuff that you are probably wondering, like, what are they talking about, like with Charlie and all this other stuff. You got to get the book. The history is well worth it. Learning about Tammy's well worth it. Going through the book, I see there's a lot of photographs and stuff in there. You wanna get that. It's a fantastic book. Plus, you're also supporting a local author. Calumet Inn-The Jewel of the Prairie is available on Amazon. Now, I want to talk about your other stuff that you do, and with your Facebook page, Journey with Spirits. Let's talk about that. What is that we're talking about?
Well, I had started it initially to like offer readings and energy work and stuff like that, but I have such a huge interest in the paranormal, and I wasn't getting any bites, so I just started to like go hard on the paranormal community and just network, because that stuff just fascinates me, and everyone's so nice anyway. So, I mean, if people find me, they find me. I'm trying to get into a local metaphysical store to do some readings and offer services like that and stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of my way to break out there a little more and get the word out a little more, other than just my friends.
Right. Yeah. I love your business model. If they find me, they find me.
Right.
It is unique take. I like it. I like the sort of the laid back, like, I defy you to find me. No, I think folks, you got to go over to Journey with Spirit, excuse me, and like it. And that's also you from what I understand, it's kind of a twofold sort of thing, because you're not done writing about paranormal or historic locations, right?
No, I want to keep going with this. So after the Anderson House, if anybody has suggestions about a local haunted historic hotel or building that could be worthy of a book, I am absolutely open to suggestions.
I got a suggestion. Of course I would. But this is because I've only seen one person get close. And I'm not saying that I know. I just know that it's always been misrepresented, and that's the soap factory in St. Anthony, Maine. And I've investigated there many times. It's no longer a place that you can investigate at, but it's a place that I feel like not that people get the history of this place wrong a lot. And now it just, it's been around since the late 1800s, and it's been a number of different things. And one of them being called the soap factory. It used to make soap, but that's just one of its many lives. So, just a thought, but that's the thing. There's so many amazing places that you could, dip your toe in, like even in that area, just a block over, the Aveda building, all of St. Anthony, Maine. I mean, there's just so many wonderful places that you can do books about, even First Ave, just across the river. I mean, you're writing it down, aren't you?
I sure am.
It's like, you do know we're doing a radio show, right?
Note taker.
It's like, I'm looking over and you're just like, no one ever paid attention to me before. I just don't even know what to say about this.
I was even interested in trying to do one about the Palmer House quite a few years ago, and I had messaged the owner and never ever heard back. And I thought, well, I think my stuff just got round filed there, but if it probably just wasn't meant to be.
Well, for what it's worth, and it's just me talking here, everyone talks about the Palmer, and there's so many wonderful places. The fact that you grabbed onto Calumet, the fact you're going and talking about the Anderson House, maybe talk with Becky about the Grant House, these places that are a little bit lesser known, but are just as amazing and really not seen as much. John says in the comments, also the Bullock Hotel in Deadwood, South Dakota. There's so many wonderful places. I mean, it's kind of like your personal playground, Julie, as
I
far
think
as
so, because
the places you can talk about. Yeah.
I haven't seen really books out there like what I'm doing. And so I kind of want to exhaust Minnesota before I branch out. But yeah, Deadwood would be amazing.
Oh, that's something else. And Dan says you need to find something in Texas. Well, no. She just said she's doing Minnesota, Dan. So no, he's late as usual to the party. So no, I think that's great. There's a lot of great places, and yeah, I like the idea that you're going after places that may not be the obvious ones that a lot of people
Right.
go after. So
I mean, I'm not going to write about the Stanley Hotel. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You're not going to do something on Villisca. I mean, everyone wants to talk
absolutely
about
not, considering everything I've seen on Facebook the last week.
Yeah, it's certainly a different sort of place now.
It's a hotbed, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, no, and yeah, I'm excited to see, Julie, where you go with all of this. You know, I'm excited. I think that you're gonna have great success writing about these places. And I'm hoping that people follow you and they get the book, only available on Amazon currently. Once again, the book is called Calumet Inn, Jewel of the Prairie. And boy, you know, I don't know. It's well done, is I guess all I can say.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure. There we go. All right. Well, with that being said, Julie, thank you so very much. This was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Once again, the book is called Calumet Inn, The Jewel of the Prairie, written by Julie Meadows. And don't forget, folks, go over to Facebook, Journey with Spirit. Go like it, and we'll hear more from Julie later. Everyone, thank you very much. Tomorrow, One Question Readings with Refined Divine. And don't forget about Ghost Stories and Beyond. We'll see you tomorrow.